Welcome to the Pewtercast bonus episode. This is your host, Daxt. I'm here with a very special episode. This is our bonus material that we'll be putting out besides our main show or our Instacast, because we had a very special situation happen, and that happened to the regular host, Brent Allen, who will be sitting next to me. He will be my number one for this show. How you doing there tonight, Brent?
I'm doing great, man. This was such a cool experience, and I'm really thankful that you're like, hey, let's hop on and talk about it, and make sure we let people know about exactly what happened out there. So I'm excited for this, and I'm glad to be in the other chair tonight. So should be fun.
So what exactly are we talking about tonight?
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
Brent. Sorry. Can't take the host out of the chair.
It's hard to.
Brent reached out to Pewter Report and offered to help them out with some of their audio for their podcast. And that led one thing to another, and he ended up getting full credentials and getting to spend the whole day at One Buc Place as a fully credentialed media member. So, Brent, what I want you to do is just go ahead and sort of expound on how this came about, and then just walk us through your whole day.
Yeah. So, some of our fans out there may or may not know that when I'm not here doing this, actually, it's part of how I got into doing this. Is by training, I'm an audio engineer. I'm a sound guy. And I'll do big arena concerts or little voiceover recording sessions, which is basically what podcasting is. It kind of run the whole gamut. And the guys over at Pewter Report, they're good friends of ours. I say that like we go out and have beers every other day. We don't. It's they're great acquaintances, and they're always very, very gracious whenever we ask them for anything.
We've had all three of them on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. So I will call them friends of the show for sure. But I had I had Mark Cook's number, and after one of their episodes, and they've just been having some technical issues with their audio, and a lot of it that I was sitting there going, I bet I know what's wrong. Like I could actually help them with this. Like it's a skill that I have. So I just reached out to Mark and I was like, hey, I hope I'm not overstepping my bounds. I love your content. Their show it's fun. It's very Pewter Report-esque, like the way those guys talk and the way those guys banter back and forth. It might have honestly just been a little selfish for my own ears, not to hear the buzzing and the whatever that they had and
popping and the
yeah,
crackling.
exactly. So, I just reached out to Mark and I said, hey, listen, if I could ever be of any help, I would love to do that. And he's like, well, sure, come on down. And he said, hey, why don't you make a day of it and I'll get you credentialed for the day. And I went, are you kidding me? Awesome. Right. So, so I got to head down there. The day started at about 11:30 with a press conference with Coach Mike Smith. And
whoa.
Yeah.
Back up.
Go ahead.
What do you mean start at 11:30? Like how did you even get in the building? Like how did you get your who did you meet? How did you get your press credentials?
Yeah.
Where are your press credentials? Are they hanging up? Are they on the mantle?
No, my press credentials were my name was on the clipboard at the security gate at the front.
Ooh.
Is really
you didn't get like a lanyard.
No, I really wanted one, but no, I didn't get that. No, it was, Mark just said, hey, listen, I'll let them know to expect you. And he said, you're going to have to come around the side entrance.
Which is where?
Well, that's what I went. I said, okay, I guess I'll figure it out. So I pulled up to One Buc, and it was, like I said, it was about 11:30 or so. And the guy's like, oh, yeah, I've got you down right here going in. And I was like, park. He's like, well, the media's over there. I went, I get to park in media parking. Okay, cool. I'm sitting there trying to be all cool. Now, by the way, I should actually mention this. Like the night before, you and I were actually recording episode 44. So, we usually start recording a little behind the scenes look for how the Pewtercast works. We start recording about 9:30 or so. And, the show was a 3-hour show. So it's a 4-hour recording session by the time you would take breaks and, different things. And by the time I got the show out, it was like 3:00 in the morning before I went to bed. But Mark had texted me while we were in the middle of recording that and said, hey, I'll make sure your name's at the thing. Oh, by the way, obviously, make sure you don't wear any of your Buccaneers gear.
Yeah, good point.
And I was like, well, obviously, because why would I wear that nice
And
red collared shirt that has a Buccaneers logo on it? Who would do that?
What you were? You had it all laid out in your bed already, didn't you?
Oh yeah, it was hanging up in my closet as this is what I'm wearing tomorrow. So I was like, of course I won't. So I picked out a different shirt. I think it was just a black shirt, and I'm glad he told me that because I would have totally showed up with my Buccaneers shirt without a different shirt to go change into.
Yeah, and you're a big dude. It's not like if you didn't bring a spare one with you. It's
they don't have one sitting around for me, right? Nobody's going to pull one out of the trunk of their car and say, "Hey, just throw this on real quick." Yeah, it's not happening.
Yeah, and you can't even run up to the 7-Eleven or like one of those little quickie marts that have like the white T-shirts. Like,
I'd have to find the fat guy shop and go there. Which thankfully One Buc's not that far away from the mall, so I would think that one of them's there, but. So anyway, but that's good. So I pull into the parking lot, right, and I'm in media parking. And another car pulls. By the way, I pull in, and the security guy's like, "Oh, who's this guy trying to get around you? I can't see who it is." And I look over, window rolls down, press credentials fly out the window, and I look and I see, and it's Ira Kaufman, just driving in. He's Ira, Don Ira, as other people might call him.
So Ira was perturbed. You were going too slow and was zooming around you.
That's exactly, he was, in his New York accent going, who the hell is this guy? Right, exactly.
Just holding his credentials out the window as he flies by at 30 miles an hour.
Exactly. And I was a little I was kind of like, dude, do you not recognize his car or something? Or, I don't know. But I'm in my parking spot and I look over and Jenna Lane's getting out of her car and Scott Reynolds, whom I was actually there to work with that day. He had a couple, got his little workbook bag, had his laptop in it, whatever. And then he was bringing in a bag of Panera, and nice. I was like, hey, I'm here. And it's like, hey, thanks for coming down today. I was like, awesome. I'm glad I met you because I don't know where I'm going. But if you think of One Buc, there's the big metal frame football in the front entrance. Well, way over on the right is just this little sidewalk that you kind of go down, and you're kind of heading towards the practice fields. And then there's just this little side door that you got to have a key fob to get into, and you just swipe your key fob and you get in, and so I just kind of tailed in right behind Scott, and you go in, and all that it is just like a hallway. It's just a little hallway down a couple rooms on the left and right, and then there's a big room on the left that you can go through a couple glass doors, and that's the media room, and that's where kind of everybody was hanging out. So, that's kind of the start of the day, and I was like, okay, I guess I'll sit right here.
Okay, so you got in, you found your way, you got through the right door, you're nipping right behind Scott Reynolds' heels, and you get into the media room. Who's in there? What's your first impression? What's it look like? Is it like looking at the face of God, or is it more I can't believe this place is such a dump?
Okay, so at first, I wouldn't say it's looking into the face of God. But it looks really cool because in there was Roy Cummings, whom you and I got to hang out with at training camp, and Ira Kaufman is in there, and Trevor Sikkema was there, and Mark Cook, and then so the Pewter Report guys were there, and then Jenna Lane from ESPN was there, and our friend Greg Allman was there, and Rick Stroud was there, and the Joe Bucks fans guys notably absent. I guess Ira was holding it down for those two guys. Then there was some some of the guys from the radio station whom I don't know who they are.
Probably 620. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the 620 guys. And then there was some people from local
Channel
TV.
13?
Yeah, Fox. Is that Fox? Yeah.
Yeah.
From there, guy who kind of I don't know his name, but he kind of looks like Roy Cummings, but a little smoother.
I've been trying to figure that out too. He's been on a lot. He's asking a lot of questions during the press conferences. I can pick his voice out now.
Yeah.
But I just I don't know. But he does. Yeah, he sort of has the same pigment and hairstyle as from the back, you were like, oh, it's Roy Cummings. And he
Yeah.
turns around, like, oh, it's not Roy Cummings.
Yeah, and then Mike Neighbors, Jim Neighbors, whatever his name is, who works with Roy Cummings at their new website, he was there as well. So but you walk in and it's just like, oh my, like here's all these people that you and I, we interact with a lot. These are people that we draw from, we use them as resources. So while they may not be celebrities to a lot of people, to me, this was a room full of celebrities.
Yeah. I remember my first Buccaneer practice I ever went to, and I saw them walking by me. I'm there with my girlfriend. Instead of like, ooh, that's Mike Evans. Ooh, that's Jameis Winston. I'm like, ooh, look, there's Greg Allman.
Right.
Oh, look, there's Pat Donovan. Oh, look, there's Scott Reynolds. Right. I was doing the same thing. So everyone's already in the building. So what time is it? So
it's like 11:15, 11:20.
Oh, okay,
we've got Coach Smith in like 10 minutes. And and by the way, that's the lingo. We've got Coach Smith in 10 minutes, right? Yeah. So I'm sitting there and I'm just kind of sitting there hanging out, and what it is they all have it's kind of a long room, but it's a little bit L-shaped, okay? And along the walls is where all their desks are, okay? And one of the first things I noticed was all of their desks all have their names on them. So like they all have like assigned seating, but like the 3 Pewter Report guys are all clumped together, and then there's a couple empty desks, and then the Joe Bucks fan guys are clumped together, and there's a couple empty desks. And the Tampa Bay Times guys, they're clumped together, and there's a couple empty desks. And
well, how do you know they're assigned?
Well, I mean, I guess they could pick their nameplate, because it's like a nameplate, like it's a printed nameplate, like they had to have it made somewhere. It's not just hey, I put my name on a sticky note and stuck it up there. No, like this is Pewter Report Mark Cook, Pewter Report Trevor Sickman, like this is their assigned seating of where their desk is, like
it's their locker.
Yeah, it's more like this is their office. Okay, but so they're like everybody's already there. They're working. They've got their computers out and they're writing, and you're kind of looking over your shoulder to see what each one is doing. And I think Trevor was playing Galaga, honestly. Like
nice. Solid retro pick.
Exactly. And Greg Allman, I looked over and he was all of these guys were working. They weren't just like sitting around cutting up whatever, like they were writing whatever story or checking out whatever they had to do. Like, I don't know what each one individually was actually doing, but they were all working. They weren't really talking to each other at all. And it was about 5 minutes in and you're like, wow, this kind of feels like a library, this media room. Like, that shh, be quiet, we're working. And even like, you hear the Pewter Report, their podcast, Pewter Nation, and the way they talk to each other and they cut up with each other and they talk over top of each other. That's them in real life. Like that's truly how they and they're always busting on each other. Those 3 are. And they were doing that in the media room, but they were whispering while doing it, cause you got to keep your voice down. Yeah. So, and it was, it just felt like a library. And then as I settled in, I started looking around and I realized like these guys are in cubicles like you would find in the study section of your library. That's literally what it is. It's tables. They have like little dividers that are, 2 or 3 feet high, and, Roy sits in this one, and Ira sits in that one, and Steve Lidsbeth sits in this one, Lita Camper sits in that one, it's just this little cubicle, and it looks like study hall in there, and it sounds like study hall because everybody's all quiet. So that's the media room. Now they do have like a little like kitchenette area with a soda fountain and and their own restrooms and stuff.
Coke or Pepsi?
Coke. Yeah, Coke. Definitely Coke. Because they had Coke Zero, which the new Coke Zero sugar, delicious.
No one cares.
Delicious. Coke needs to send us money for us saying that.
Is that the new green one?
No. It's Coke Zero. They just added Coke Zero sugar because now it tastes more like real Coke. It's delicious. I love it. Anyway,
that sounds delicious.
Try it. It's good. But anyway, so that's just kind of the media room, and you're just sitting there kind of hanging out. And there's in like if you think like the long part of the L, like you have desks on one side and desks on the other. There's another row of tables going right down the middle of the road that don't have any cubicle dividers on them, and there's certainly no nameplate. So there's a couple of guys who are kind of coming in and sitting in. Like, one of the people who was there, I didn't find out until way later in the day, is Pewter Report's photographer.
Okay.
So
Jeff something or other.
Yeah, like, so he's just sitting there, and I'm just like, okay,
Jeff
who's
Welsh?
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, I don't know who this guy is, but he's sitting really close, and no one's talking to him. And the only reason I figured it out is because later, like, Mark Cook turned around and said, "Hey, did you get those pictures? Okay, well, why don't you do this, this, and this, and then you can get out of here." And I was like, oh, or maybe he's an intern. I don't really know what he was, but but yeah, they just there's not a lot of talking in the media room.
That's a bit disappointing.
Yeah, like to me in my head, it's like I'm thinking they're cutting up. I understand it's a workplace, right? But still, I would think there'd be a little bit more, cutting up and interacting, and
Where's the overstuffed leather chairs and the cigar smoking,
right?
And the brandy snifters,
and nothing's up on the walls. Like
Nothing?
it's pretty blank walls from what I remember. Yeah.
They need a moose head at least.
Something. Or a Buccaneer logo or something, or a sign that says you're not allowed to be a fan of the team in here. I don't know.
Shh, no talking.
No talking. Right. Something of that nature. So and then right at 11:30 or 11:45, whatever the time was, the designated time, in walks one of the Buccaneer guys who's in Buccaneer logo, like team issue wear. And all of a sudden it occurs to me, it goes, oh, that's why we aren't allowed to wear Buccaneer logo, because all their staff is wearing Buccaneer logo, and it's easy to get confused if they are. I go, okay.
I don't think that's the reason.
It makes sense. Let's just say it's an added benefit if that's not the actual reason.
There, yeah. You could sneak upstairs. Oh, you got a Buccaneer logo? Yeah, sure, go right through.
Sure. So they say, all right, it's, Coach Smith is coming in 5 minutes. So everybody just kind of gets up and trickles and walks, they all just go, and they go around the corner and they go literally across the hallway, and they open up the doors, and there's the press conference room. The press conference room looks it's a lot smaller than what I thought it would be. The chairs are way uncomfortable. Auditorium? No, it's not the auditorium at all. There's probably, I'd say there might be 40 chairs set up, and there's probably 15, 20 people in the room, if that. They have 3 video cameras at the back, and of course the wires are going all back and forth. And as a technical guy, I'm looking, because they broadcast, they film and video and broadcast these things. So they have like the video control center with the switcher and all of that. And then I look up, and how for the actual press conferences, it's you can hear the people asking the questions, but you can kind of hear the microphone going on and off. Well, that guy is he's just to the right of the stage, and he's got what's called a shotgun mic, just on a stand, and he's pointing it at whoever's talking, and you just watch him push up the fader and then pull it back down, and then push up the fader and pull it back down. In fact, after the press conference, I went up to him. I'm like, "Hey, I'm not supposed to be here today, but I usually watch this online. Thank you for what you do so we can hear the questions, because it makes watching these things a whole lot better."
Yeah, it does.
So shout out to that guy.
And I always download the team app. The Buccaneer has an app. Mm-hmm. I always download the team app to whatever team they're playing onto my phone, so I can watch all their press conferences and see what's going on with them and who's hurt and who's injured and all that kind of stuff. And not every team does that. Very few teams actually do that. You're sort of lost, almost like watching a White House press briefing. Mm-hmm. It's you're trying to get the question from the answer. Right,
because nobody rewords the question for you or anything like that.
Yeah, right. Why would you? It's not their job.
Right.
So yeah, I'm with you. I really appreciate what'd you call it, the shotgun mic?
Yeah, it's called a shotgun mic. Yeah, the guy who's over there, and he's got his finger on the soundboard and throws it all the way up and then pulls it back down when the guy's done asking a question.
What's the difference between a shotgun mic and a boom mic?
The boom is the stand that the mic is on. That's the thing you hold up over your head.
Yeah.
Or if you have a person who you have a mic that's on a stand, but the stand part way up swivels and leans towards you, that's the boom part. It's the part that comes into you.
Right.
So the boom is not actually the mic itself; it's a part of the stand. So it's a boom mic is really a mic on a boom. But you can put any type of microphone on a boom.
Okay.
So
what's a shotgun mic?
A shotgun mic is a specific type of mic that it like kind of laser focuses where it pulls its sound from. So like I could point it to you from way across the room and it would pick you up from way across the room, but it's not going to get all this extra noise on the left and right because it's focused. Like
Gotcha.
Yeah. So a lot of times you use a shotgun mic in a boom. Particularly if you're like filming, you want to get their actual voice and not all the other crap that's going on around you.
Okay, let's not bore everybody. But
technical stuff.
I got you.
But it's everybody walks in and they have like a speaker, like a real tiny small speaker in the back of the room that all the guys put their their little voice recorders right in front of. So that's how they get their voice record, or a lot of them get their voice recording. And then so you're sitting there and there's 20 people in the room and they all have like their phones out and they're taking pictures and they're tweeting and they're talking. And what's really interesting to me was nobody speaks up in that room. Like there's nobody who's projecting a voice. They're just kind of, so Mike, Coach Smith, what do you think about this and that? And like, I'm sitting here going, I'm 10 feet away from you and I can't hear what the heck you're saying. Like,
right.
Where's my shotgun mic? I need to hear you. And I noticed like the coach, they're up there, they have a microphone in front of their face. There's no speaker in the room that's broadcasting what they're saying. Like, it's just the sound that's coming off the stage. And Coach Smith certainly isn't screaming, and neither is Coach Cutter when he's up there. So
you're saying the only thing that microphone in front of them is hooked up to is the speaker in the back of the room and the soundboard.
Yep, exactly. And what we hear online, that's really all it's hooked up to. So
I think that's a cool idea with the speaker in the back. Because you see press conferences, where everyone's phone and voice recorders are just sort of littered all over the podium.
Right.
I think it's a cool idea to have in the back so it's out of the way.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I did too. And I think that's why I noted it. And again, because I'm a production guy, right? Like, so I tend to notice those things. Like I'm noticing the placement of the lights. And I mean, they actually have this room set up like a studio. Cause that's what it is. Right. So, coach comes in and he's talking and, first thing you notice about Coach Smith, real jovial kind of guy, I mean, we see it when we watch him on TV, but it's or on the app or whatever. But he truly is. He's a magnetic kind of a guy. Like he's a guy you want to just talk to. So I'm sitting there and I leaned over to Mark because I was sitting next to Cook and I said, "Am I allowed to ask a question?" And he's like, "Yeah, just don't let it be a stupid one." And I'm sitting there going, "Oh, I want to ask a question. I'm here. I want to ask a question, but don't let it be a stupid one." "Oh no, that sounds like a stupid question. What question could I ask?" I don't know. And these guys are firing off all different, kinds of random questions. I'm like, why would you ask that question? But
it's a good idea that you didn't ask Cook for a question because that, no matter what he told you, it would have been stupid.
It would have been. Yes, he would have done that to me on purpose. So, but they were it's not that impressive. And by the way, the chairs that they make the media guys sit in, not comfortable. Not comfortable at all.
Like not comfortable for you or not comfortable for anybody? Is this a big guy problem? Like
I think no, because like these kind of do this, like they do this like natural reclining thing. And so like if I'm sitting there with my phone and I'm trying to take notes or I'm trying to listen and pay attention, you sit in the chair and it naturally wants to like lean back. And that's not just a big guy thing. Like it does that for just about anybody, except maybe Jenna Lane, who by the way is tiny.
Yeah,
she is tiny. But for anyone who is of normal size, like, and you can see people were like leaning back, and when this does not promote a good, comfortable, let me just sit back and listen to you kind of a thing. Like I actually had to kind of push the chair back and sit in and kind of sit on the edge of my seat so that I could, like focus in. But yeah, just not super comfortable. Certainly, yeah. I mean, they were better than folding chairs. Let's put it that way. But, they didn't make me want to sit there for very long. So that's what happened. And then it's there's no talking to Smith before to any of these guys before or after the press conference. The door opens, they walk in, they say, okay guys, shoot, and then they talk, and the guy calls, okay, time, last question, and then they turn around and they walk out.
Do they come in the same door you come in?
No, they come in. They have like a little door like right next to the stage, whereas we come in through the back of the room. So gotcha. They shoot in real quick and shoot out. It's probably to a place where the media is not allowed to go, to be honest with you. I don't know what's behind that door. I now want to know what's behind that door. Probably a hallway. So then, and everybody just shuffles back out and
so what time is it now?
If it started at 11:30, it's now like 11:40. If it started 11:45, It's like now 11:55. And open locker room is happening in 5 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So some people go back to their desk. Other people just start walking back through the inner halls of One Buc Place towards the locker room.
All right. So you said that the media room is basically just across the hall from the press conference room.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So if we're walking out of the press conference room, I'm assuming the door that you came in is to the left, right?
That's right.
Correct, I should say?
Yep, that's right.
Okay. So now we're walking out of the press conference room and we make a
You make
left.
A right. No, you make it's like this little bit of a left, and then you make a right, and you go down this hallway, and just doors open, and you're into the bowels of One Buc.
Okay.
And
all right.
If you don't know your way around, you're getting lost because that place is a maze, and there's no windows. This part, you're in a hallway. Hallways were cool. Big, huge pictures of Buccaneer players of the past were on the walls. And as I continued to walk through the hallways, some of them were some of the current players like Mike Evans and Jameis and Doug Martin still had a big one up in there.
Of course he does, because he's going to be on the team.
Because he's going to be on the team, exactly. Although I will notice that in all the banners and everything around the stadium, Doug Martin is noticeably absent. But inside One Buc Place, Doug Martin is still very much there. And on the walls and alive and all that. So we're going through there. We're walking past we walked past the cafeteria at some point, but the doors were closed. All we could do, I just knew it was a cafeteria because you could smell food and people were walking out of there. Like Keith Tandy, as I'm walking past, he like door opens and there's Keith Tandy like walking next to me munching on some nachos. Then he got out.
That doesn't seem very healthy.
It doesn't seem healthy, but it's what he was munching on.
So are you allowed to go in the cafeteria?
I don't think so. I might be. I don't know. Nobody else was going in the cafeteria, so I wasn't going to go in the cafeteria.
Yeah, you would think it's not players only.
Right. Maybe staff only,
Yeah, could be.
And I say that because everybody in the media room brought their own lunch. Like, they are not going to the Buccaneer cafeteria, the One Buc Place cafeteria, to get lunch. They're all eating their own lunch.
Yeah. Because I doubt the cafeteria actually has a cash register.
That's probably true. That's probably very true. But I don't know because I didn't get to go in there. But anyway, so we're turn a corner, and everybody's walking fast too. Like, they're all moving really fast. And I might have just been going slow because I was still kind of like taking it in, like, wow. Definitely was like the new kid. And all of a sudden, like, here are the doors, and they open up, and like the Hallelujah chorus starts playing. A bright light shines from within and is just so welcoming and envelops you in, and I am in the locker room.
Oh.
In the locker room
at One Buc.
In the locker room at One Buc. And it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. I don't think this is the new 16,000 square foot locker room that they were talking about. Yeah.
That's at the stadium.
Yeah. But it's all wood lockers with their names engraved on them and the Buccaneer logo. There's the big ping pong table in the middle of the room. And by the way, let me tell you, that ping pong table never got a break. Somebody was always playing on that ping pong table. I walked in and it was Mike Evans, Justin Evans, Alan Cross, and I want to say Kendall Beckwith, maybe Ryan Smith. I think it was Ryan Smith. Kendall Beckwith jumped in a little bit later. And I'm.
So who had serious ping pong game? You were in there for a little while.
I got to be honest, I wasn't watching the ping pong game. I was going, oh my God, that's Mike Evans. He's right there. Oh my God, he's right. Oh, look at where I am. oh, there's Joe Holly walking by in his underwear. Man, he's got a nice beard. Uh,
Did you try to get next on the ping pong game? Did you put your quarters up?
no,
No.
Because I'm still like, and it wasn't. And once we got into the locker room is when I mentioned earlier the Joe Bucks fans guys were to me were noticeably absent. Steve Isbitz and Lita Camper, they were already actually in the locker room ahead of everybody else. And Ira walks in and Steve Isbitz walks right over to him and goes, "Hey Sage," and that's what he called him the whole time was Sage, like just personally, like back and forth to each other. Hey Sage, hey Sage. And we had 45 minutes of open locker room. And open locker room basically is stand around and wait until somebody comes along that you want to talk to, and then you kind of saddle up to them and say, "Hey, can I talk to you for a second?" And they kind of look at you, and you just start talking to them, and you have your voice recorder that you stick in their face. And there's a couple of like video cameras in there, like full on like television cameras. And if somebody like wants to address the media, they'll call everybody over and they bring the cameras and like everybody like floods to that person. So the first person that did that was DeMar Dotson.
So you're all in there and you're mingling around. You're the new kid at school. Yep. You're watching a little bit of ping pong.
Yep. I feel like a super dork, by the way. Like, I don't know what to say to anybody. I don't know what to do with my hands.
What am I doing here? I don't know.
Exactly.
I should have wear pants with pockets. This is terrible.
Right.
Okay, so you're in the middle of that, and you're hyperventilating a little bit, starting to panic. So you said a player that wants to address the media. So what does DeMar Dotson do? Just go, like, does he stand up on a chair?
Yeah.
Or does he just
No.
I'm going to address the media now.
Well, first of all, DeMar Dotson is so tall, he doesn't have to stand up on a chair. He can just stand.
I think he's the tallest person on the team.
He is. No, I don't know that it's so much if they want to address the media as much as somebody has arranged it with DeMar to talk to the media and allow the media to ask him questions. Gotcha. Maybe one of the Bucks PR staff has said, "Hey, DeMar's agreed to have the camera in his face," or I'm not exactly sure because they were kind of already moving into that when I walked into the room. And I go over and again, there's like everybody's crowded around them. It's really hard to hear each other's questions. With everything that's going on, I don't know if I just have bad hearing or if these guys have trained ears or if it's just really hard to hear what other people are asking and to hear his response.
All you hear is like the ping pong table.
And maybe that's why maybe that's part of the purpose of having the recording of it, because it doesn't matter if you hear what he says or not. You can just go back and actually listen to the recording later, which will actually tell you what it is.
Right. Remember back in the day, I'd do that by hand. I shouldn't say remember, but
they had a little notepad.
Yeah.
Tell me, Skippy, what's the spread on? Yeah.
It's 6-3 here at the stadium, and no boys, it hot.
Right, exactly. So DeMar is doing that, and then he finishes up, and everybody kind of splits off, and all of a sudden I turn on, there's Gerald freaking McCoy. I have two players' jerseys in my closet. One of them's Gerald McCoy, the other's Ali Marpet. So
find a Marpet jersey.
Do what? Somebody sent it to me. I don't know. I received 3 articles of Buccaneer clothing this year that somebody sent to me. I have no clue who it is, but they all sent it to me in my size, which was very cool. So, but I'm very glad.
No address or anything?
Do what?
Like no return address?
No, it was like they sent it like from NFLshop.com. But
what?
No, like, hey, happy birthday, or hey, like one I thought might have just come from the Buccaneers, like as a hey, new season ticket holder, here's you a thing or something. No, nothing. It just showed up. I don't know who it is. So if you're listening and that was you, thank you. Please let me know who you are so I can thank you properly.
How am I just really now hearing about this?
I just don't think it ever came up. I tweeted about it.
And
but
by
anyway.
the way, if you are listening, I'm size medium. So if you ever get something,
hit him up at Red Daxt. But
did you get this?
Yeah, it got sent to my house. Who knows my address?
Which house?
No, my one here in Jacksonville.
Carolina.
Yeah, my new address here. So I don't know. Anyway,
what is going
on? Our
on?
listeners don't want to hear about this, but if it's you, thank you. But I'm sitting here saying
I'm the host, Brent. I will decide what people want to hear.
Do it. Let me get out of that chair. You go ahead, Ren.
Anyway, I am done with that. Let's go ahead, continue with your day.
So Gerald walks in now. His locker is like like kind of over in the corner. Like the locker room at One Buc is kind of shaped like an H. Like there's two long staffs with one kind of thing going across the middle, if that makes sense.
And there are lockers across the middle?
Yeah, and then
like on both sides, and then I guess a walk space.
Well,
like
there's lockers on the one side, and then there's the ping pong table on the other. Like if you think of like the empty space of an H, like there's lockers in that spot, and then there's the ping pong table in the other. So,
gotcha.
But like Gerald's is like at the top of the H, so he walks in to the side, like kind of where the crossbar is.
Top of the H, as in like all the way in the back of the locker, or up by the doors.
No, like all the way in the back. Yeah. So like he walks in and people are like, "Hey, Gerald's getting ready to talk to everybody." So he like saunters over and like he's like getting ready, like he's getting prepped, and he's like, "Does this look good?" He has like his little hoodie on. He's like, "Can you see me with my hoodie? Do I need to pull it back? Are you guys good?" And he's super nice, like super duper sweet, and he's standing in front of his locker as if he was at his locker and people came up to him and he turned around and said, "Hey guys." No, he actually walked in the room and again, this is what makes me think like it might have been a little prearranged with PR staff. Like unless that's just what's expected of Gerald McCoy every time he's in the locker room during open locker, or every time he comes in during open locker room,
Yeah,
that's true. So so we know when they talk to Gerald and again I'm sitting there going I'm really having to suppress the fanboy in me right now. Because it's like I'm like you keep in mind we're 2 days after the Bears game, I think at this point. And I'm like, hey, really good game on Sunday. Like that was a cool play that you did there. That was amazing. Like I'm having to push that down and just be like, don't ask a stupid question. Don't ask a stupid question, but I want to ask a question.
So how long does this go for? Gerald
McCoy, whatever they put up on Buccaneers.com, I'm sure is how long. It was probably 5-10 minutes. It was pretty lengthy, But I got in 2 questions to Gerald. One was I said, "Hey, Mike said earlier this week, and there's a lot of people here named Mike. You're gonna have to be more specific." Sorry, Mike Evans said earlier this week that he felt like he wasn't being double teamed as much. I said, did you notice that you had maybe a few less hands on you this week with the added people that we have on the line? He's like, "Man, I can't tell. I just do my job. Okay, they put whoever on me. I don't know. I just go out there and rip through it and do what I got to do." I was like, "Okay, cool." Trevor later informed me that was actually a good question. I was talking.
That was a very good question.
Yeah, he's like, "I don't know." And then later it was actually after all the other media guys going away. I said, "Hey, Gerald, I got one more question for you." I said, "This isn't really football."
You sign my arm.
Well, right. As like, this isn't really a football question, but when Levante went down in the game with the cramps, or at least I assume it was cramps, everybody knows about your relationship with him and how tight you guys are. Just curious, can you tell us, like, you were the only player who went over to check on him. What did you say to him? Maybe what did he say to you? Just curious about that. And at that point he like turns around and there's a jersey sitting on a folding chair right in front of his locker, and it's got like a little Post-it note on it, and he picks it up and he turns around his locker, he grabs like a little Sharpie and he starts signing the jersey while he's talking to me. So apparently they just set a jersey in front of his locker and he signs it and it gets to wherever it's supposed to go. So
your house in Jacksonville, apparently.
Apparently, yeah. I should go check mine and see if there's got an autograph on it. But he just looked at me. He's like, Levante, obviously we work together, so we talk every day. He's like, but out of everybody here, he is my best friend. He is absolutely my best friend. And so I was worried about my friend. And I just had to go check on him. And, so we're recording this after the Vikings game. Today when Levante got what seems to be seriously hurt. We're not exactly sure what the full extent of that injury is just yet.
So reported it's a high ankle sprain?
Reported it's a high ankle sprain. It's not a break is what the x-ray showed, but they'll of course have to wait till the MRI comes out and see. Levante, actually I saw earlier, said it wasn't really that serious. So So hopefully he's back soon and he gets healthy. Certainly want the best for him. But again, Gerald was the only one who, like, Gerald was right there, right next to him.
Right.
Which I just, on a personal level, this is a question I don't necessarily know that media would ask, but I think we as fans would ask, just kind of wanting a complete picture of these players. I don't know. Maybe nobody else is interested in that kind of stuff other than me, but as a fan of the team, I found it rather interesting.
I had no idea that they were best friends.
Yeah.
And the reporter thing, the reason they wouldn't ask that question is because they only ask questions that they're going to write stories on.
Sure.
If that's when you hear, like, if you'll hear one reporter in the press conference that you're in there with Mike Smith sort of ask 3-4 questions in a row and kind of hijack the press conference, it's because that's the story they're working on, and and now they're getting their quotes, from the person they need.
Right.
So
yeah. So that was that was kind of it, and I just I let Gerald go back to doing his thing, and walked away, and I just kind of, like, I saddled up, and Jenna Lane was talking to TJ Ward, so I just kind of awkwardly imposed myself in their conversation. And then, like, Ali Marpet was over there, and he was getting ready to go out and practice. He was putting his pads and stuff on, and I wanted to go over and talk to Adam Humphreys, and Mike Evans was there, and I just kind of just wandered around. I felt very awkward, but as I said, the big thing was I just wanted to take it in. I didn't talk to a whole lot of people. I didn't ask a whole lot of questions. I just kind of wanted to take it in, and it was super cool being in there, and there was a little bit of, along with meeting the players, Jameis came in at the very, very end, and I saw him, and I really wanted to go up and say hi to him, but it just, hi. Again, I'm supposed to be there as a member of the media, just trying to be cool, like, don't be that kind of a fanboy, is basically what they told me. So it took some work to suppress that.
Yeah. Okay. So, so that was sort of, is that the end of the,
So the guy comes in, he's like, all right, guys, 2-minute warning, open locker rooms being closed. And so people are, they're kind of scrambling around to get their last little quote. Some guys were already done and left the locker room.
Right.
It's not as glorious as it sounds. It's glorious the first time you're there and like, oh my God, here's all these people. If you're doing this 3, 4, 5 times a week, it's not that glorious. You're literally just standing around waiting for people to come to see who you get to talk to, because it's not required for the players to go into the locker room during this time. And some of them really they're going in to get ready so they can go out and practice, and no, they don't necessarily have time to talk to you, and they'll tell you that, and there's no hard feelings about it. It's just people go up and ask, and whatever conversations they have with them. So, but they give you the 2-minute warning, and then they kind of usher everybody out. Well, so here's the thing: Scott Reynolds and Mark Cook and Trevor Sikkema all took off without me.
No way, they left you in there.
Oh, they totally left me in there. And I walk out and I go, I don't remember how to get back out of here. So I'm kind of like trying to follow some guys, but not everybody was going, and I'm and there's a little bit of, I'm still kind of looking around, taking in what's in the hallways and what's around, and obviously I remember that Coach Cutter, and it's the office is upstairs, and I was very much on the first floor. So like I kind of go around this corner and I go around that corner, and I find myself in a dead end, and I turn around and I look, and here's like this very nice lady, professionally dressed, and she's got like her hands full, and she was heading towards this door that I had just found like as a dead end, and was getting ready to turn around. I was like, oh, can I get this door for you? And she looks at me, she's like, do you have a badge to get up there? And I was like, no, actually I'll need yours. And she's like, well, technically if you don't have a badge, I can't let you in. And I was like, oh, I wasn't actually going to go in. I was just going to open the door for you.
But let me rephrase. I'm just, your hands are full.
Right. I was just going to open the door for you. So, but I get where the confusion might have been. I really do.
But you heard the technically part. You should have smoothed her, man. It looked like she was giving you a way in.
Right.
Well, technically I can't let you in. Well, my badge is at home.
Right.
There.
Technically. Why don't we get untechnical here?
Oh,
Cindy. Cindy.
There you go.
But
right, well,
I eventually
I
caught it. Yeah, go ahead.
hang on. We'll get back to where you got lost and had a moment alone with a Buccaneers staffer. You're in the open locker room.
Uh-huh.
All right. Mm-hmm. We've been talking about this ever since basically the end of last season.
Okay.
We had a big conversation about it during,
I don't know where this is going.
Talking Knox.
Uh-huh.
What's that?
I said, I'm not sure that I know where this is going. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, you do.
Okay.
Yeah, you do. We had a big talking about it and talking Knox. There was one point where we had an uncomfortable exchange between the two of us, between body parts during the first hard Knox. So you're in the locker room. Did you see any mini Lombardis from the Pewtercast?
No mini Lombardis. I was looking. There were no mini Lombardis at all. And I was slightly disappointed, but then I looked at it, and it's one of those like, I can see why there wouldn't be, because like it's you could tell that like in the morning or maybe late at night, some Buccaneer staffer comes in and cleans up the locker room and like resets the lockers to whatever pristine condition they are. And then players come in the morning and they throw their sandals here and they throw a shirt there, and they kind of take off whatever, and it kind of just gets messed up and towels get thrown here. And I mean, it's a locker room. It's truly a locker room. Like whatever you picture of a locker room in high school, that's kind of what this is. It's just a little bit nicer, So, it's not one of those things that you're going to just – nobody has, like, personalized locker stuff. Like, oh, this person has a little Homer Simpson doll sitting in his locker, or this person has pictures of his girlfriend sitting up in his locker. That's not the case in any of these lockers. So
it's more like a workspace, like the cubicles in the media room.
Yeah, except if I have a cubicle that's got my name on it, I'm probably putting pictures up around the wall a little bit, or – kind of like you do in your dorm room, maybe like around your bunk bed. Like I've got my pictures up.
You're going to put a 1970s version of Farrah Fawcett?
Sure. Yeah. Let's do that.
Okay. Sorry.
A little before my time, but okay.
That is. I keep forgetting.
Yeah.
It was like it's actually a little bit before my time, just a bit. Yeah. It's like it's the poster that it's sold the most prints ever.
Yeah. I think my time would have been like Pamela Anderson circa Baywatch.
There you go.
Yeah, like
I prefer the barbed wire look, but Baywatch will do.
But nobody has personalized their locker. It's just stuff that they're wearing for that day or whatever is kind of tossed in there. So no mini Lombardis. Which makes me wonder what I still like. I really wonder, I know Coach Cutter got his. I don't know if anybody else got theirs. I assume they did. Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. I don't know.
All right. And and just to remind everybody, the reason Brent knows that Coach Cutter got his because he got a handwritten note back thanking him for it.
Yeah, it's sitting right here. I'm looking at it on my desk right now. So, it was very cool. Very cool. Thank you once again, Coach Cutter. That meant a lot to receive that back from you. So I assume the other players got it. I just don't know if they have or not. So, I know our spies on the inside, that's why they haven't come up with them yet. So, but yeah, nobody personalizes
that was
their
your
locker.
Chance, man.
Yeah, I know.
That was your chance. I mean, I'm sure like the media wasn't crowded around Brian Anger.
They weren't. And that was the don't go up to him and be a fanboy. Like I was going, hey, did you get your trophy?
No, you could have so you had such a good had such a good first year. You got your contract extended. Did you get any, remind me, did you get any personal awards, or maybe even a fan award? Did you get any hardware?
Anything?
A great year.
Come on, Brian, tell me what you got.
Maybe a trophy shaped like the Lombardi, but miniaturized
with your name spelled correctly on it. I tell you what, I was so taken in by the experience of the first time there. I'll remember to do that my second time when I go back.
And which is,
I don't know. We'll figure it out. But I feel like I could call somebody up now and be like, hey, why don't you put my name down on the list for today?
Because it was so easy the first time.
So,
this is Mike Cook, and putting Brent Allen on the list for tomorrow for full media.
Right.
Go Ice Road Truckers, Florida State, Dalvin Cook, number 1.
Right.
Sorry. Okay, so we're back at Cindy. You didn't talk your way past the magic door.
No, sure didn't.
And now you're lost.
Right, now I'm lost.
With nobody in sight. And by now it's got to be pushing like 12:30. You got to be pretty hungry.
Yeah. Oh, it was closer to like 1. Like we're getting on about 1 o'clock now because open locker room was like a full 45 minutes. So, yeah, getting a little hungry because I could smell the food. And that actually is how I found my way out of the lost. I just followed my nose. Uh, which as a big guy, that the humor is not lost on me about that. But I did. I literally followed my nose till I found the cafeteria, and then Ira Kaufman once again walking past me, and he kind of. I don't want to say he led me, but I just trailed along with him until I found the media room again. And it was about that time that Trevor and Mark looked at me and went, "Hey, let's go do a podcast now." Like, oh, okay.
So they
Yeah, I still haven't eaten, but I'm okay. I had food on the way down. I'm working on adrenaline at this point. These guys are eating Panera.
Point.
Mark Cook is eating the oh so healthy meal of Golden Flakes, cheese puffs, and dill pickled potato chips. So, meanwhile, Trevor Sickham, on the other hand, is eating a plate of wild rice with grilled chicken and avocado.
Yeah, that's not surprising.
Yeah, and he's like, I eat 2 plates of this a day. Well, I drink 5 dozen eggs for breakfast, and I'm like, okay, Gaston, chill out.
It's like, yeah, you're still like 5'11", bro, and like 185. Right. So you roll. But I guess, did you ever read that article about when he punctured his lung?
Who, Trevor?
Or his lung collapse? Yeah.
No,
He put it. I'm not sure if he reposted it. But yeah, you hunt that down. It's a pretty good read. Huh. I guess he used to be a smaller kid growing up, and really put the effort in weight wise. And when he was doing some pretty heavy weight, for someone his size, squatting, his lung collapsed on him, and he almost died.
Oh wow!
In the gym, they raced him to the hospital. But it was a good read. It's a good story. But anyway.
I'm glad he survived. And Trevor, I just have to say, 30 years old is coming for you, Bubba. So anyway, so we make it back, and we kind of go through the podcast stuff, and I figured out what was wrong with their gear.
Which was
they had they had a really bad microphone. Actually, all of their I didn't love all of their microphones, but it was a bad mic and a bad wire. And it was some weird combination of them. So I was able to track those 2 down. Literally threw those 2 things in the trash can and gave them a quick tutorial on, hey, here's the gear you might want to go get. So they I actually hooked up some of my gear to their board to help them out to get them through that particular recording. And I assume that they went and bought the new gear that I told them to get. Scott gave Mark his credit card, like right there, to say, go to Guitar Center and get it. I told him, just pick this up, pick that up. Yeah.
And
that literally happened. So
tip of the hat to you. It was easily their best sounding podcast.
Sure. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I know.
No, it's
last compliment you get, Mr. Allen.
Well, it's you put a good mic on and a cable and it's fine. But I got to talk. Trevor's kind of their tech guy, so I got to give him a very quick tutorial on here's this on the board and here's what you want to look at here and you plug your headphones in here, and he was because they've been recording without headphones because they didn't know exactly how to make all that work. And it's talk to them a little bit about the service they use to get the podcast out and what are the different options that they have and things like that. So and I was really just planning on sitting there with headphones on, listening in and recording, and they're like, well, do you got an extra mic? Pop it in and let's go. And I'm going, oh, okay, cool, let's do that.
Yeah. So
it was very cool. I was like, yeah, let's do it. The difference being that my mic didn't have what's called a pop filter, which prevents all the p and the t from happening. So if you actually go back and listen to that episode, my voice actually, I think, sounds the worst of the 3 of them because they actually had these really nice pop filters and, exactly what you want when you're doing a voiceover recording, and mine didn't. It was just, kind of the raw microphone. But
I would like to apologize everyone who's wearing headphones and just heard Brent go pa and ta because it hurt.
Apologies. And so that's why we have pop filters on our microphones.
That's why I doubled down on that. So take that.
Yeah, there you go. So we got through the recording, and they were doing Ira Kaufman's podcast recording actually in the room right next to ours because they have these little interview rooms. And my God,
hazing going on.
Those guys are just loud. Like you could hear them through the wall. Like it was loud. Thankfully, it didn't come through in the recording, and it's fine. It was funny to me. Like Pewter Report guys are making their podcast right now. They're making the Ira Coffin podcast over there right now. And you could hear the music from practice happening outside. You remember like during training camp they had the really loud music. Yeah, you could hear that like filtering into the room from outside as well. So all of that happening at the same time was was a little daunting when you're trying to think through your stuff and go through. So and I won't bother recapping the podcast. You guys can actually hear it there is no editing to their podcast. It's how it comes out is how they did it. So it was fun. It was fun to sit there and talk to them, and man, trying to keep those guys on track is a chore.
It's got to be impossible. I mean, that's probably my only one complaint. One of them will start to make a really good point that I want to hear, and then somebody else will jump in, right, and then it just goes off the rails,
right,
and then they bring it back, but they don't bring it back to that point. They sort of start fresh from another point. It's just like incredibly enjoyable, especially like I have had beers with these guys before.
Yeah.
So I consider at least Trevor a little bit of Cook friends. I like Scott, but I've never really had a sort of a conversation I have with the Mark Cook and Trevor Sikkema. Well, that's not true. I guess I would consider Scott a friend. He probably doesn't consider me a friend. That's not fair either. It doesn't matter. Hope they're not listening. Anyway, it's an extrememely entertaining podcast. But yeah, trying to keep these guys on task and on point it's like trying to herd cats.
And to that point, I mean, so like one example it didn't occur to me until I listened back to the replay of it was they were asking like, what do I think is the big key matchup or something to the game, and I started making the point of going, look, I don't know who these Vikings players are. I'm a Bucs fan. I don't follow these other guys, but I'll tell you who I think they need to watch out for. And I was saying to Deshaun Jackson, and while I was in the middle of saying that, they're like, they start talking about, oh, well, what about this player here? And Mark's like, didn't they have a black punter once named something Coleman? Yeah. And I'm like,
Adrian Peterson's not with them anymore.
Yeah.
Kramer's like, not playing quarterback.
Right.
And you're like, I know.
He's with the Saints. I'm trying to get back here. And like, so I go through and I finally get to say what I was going to say. And like Scott and Trevor are like, hey, that's actually like a legit point. And Mark goes, boom, pulled it up on Wikipedia. Here's his name. And I'm like, okay, awesome.
But I know. That's exactly what happened.
But
you're just about to get a little bit of kudos.
Right.
Folks like Cook brings up this point that he didn't finish like 3 minutes ago.
Exactly.
That's just how they roll.
But that's just how they roll. And that's part of what makes their podcast them. And it's what makes it unique. And it's why people want to hear the Pewter Report guys talk and not just have, because they said, Mark said at one point, he's like, hey, I got an idea. How about we scrap this whole podcasting thing and we just let you guys rename your podcast to ours, and you and Ren can just do our podcast for us. To which I said, oddly, I would consider talking to you about that, but that's not why we're here right now. Right. I said, or we're getting several thousand downloads per episode. You could sell ads for us and, not be obnoxious about it, but give us the money. And they looked at me and went, no.
Done and done. Okay,
no.
Great.
So, but it was fun getting to hang out with Trevor and Scott and Mark, particularly in the same room. They're three fun guys,
Yeah.
And they're it just to get them to go through. And like I said, that was the purpose that I was there for, was that moment right there, was to kind of help them through that. And I was really glad to do it. I mean, it was, just to get to, just to get to hang out with them, to get to help them, to make a better podcast, for me personally, for all of my fellow people who listen to that as well, and especially where they actually do have sponsors, it's I can only imagine their sponsors ever listen back and go, man, we're paying this money and these guys, their quality sucks. Like, no, let's just help them out. Like, it's easy enough. So, I was glad to get down there and do it.
Thinking that at all.
I don't know. Maybe they are. Maybe they're not. I don't know.
I just want people to show up.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, Brent, you're the sound Nazi, man.
I might be.
You are the sound Nazi. But I mean, but look at it. That's how things get done. Now their podcast sounds great. Ours always has sounded very good. I don't want to say great because my headset's not the best there could be. I didn't go out and drop like $200 on it, but it's a lot better than we were when we started.
Right.
My little Apple plugin came with the phone. So okay, so now you're done with the podcast.
Yep.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Well, shake hands, wrap it up.
Well, no, we shake hands and they say, hey, the only thing we've got left is Coach Cutter. Coach Cutter has his press conference later this afternoon. I'm like, yeah, I get to stay for that, don't I? But I'm done. Like my role for the day is done. Right.
Right.
So I just kind of go back, and we had probably about an hour or so until Coach Cutter, and we're just there hanging out. And
did you eat?
I did not. No. I had some of Mark Puff's amazing Golden Flakes cheese puffs, which they, along with Coca-Cola, should send us money for mentioning them twice now. But we're just hanging out, and like I said, everybody was back to work. There was not a lot of talking, and I kind of started, I think, realizing what the media guys, like, what their day-to-day life must be like a little bit.
Right.
Because like the Pewter Report guys, I was talking to them, they don't have an office, like they don't have a building that they go to, like that is their office. Yeah, like they either work there or they work from their kitchen table at home. They have their servers, they pay for a service for their servers to run the website, and they just go from there. Jenna Lane doesn't have an office. She's ESPN's correspondent, but that is her office. I don't necessarily know about the Tampa Bay Times guys. If they have an office different than One Buc, I would assume they probably have some somewhere, but that's their main place where they are. And they're the beat reporters for the Bucs, so they're there.
I'm not sure they go in that much because I know Greg Allman lives out at Wesley Chapel, which is sort of like North Tampa and then a little further.
Right.
And the St. Pete Times building, or the Tampa Bay Times, I'm sorry, it used to be the St. Pete Times. The Tampa Bay Times, which he works for, is downtown St. Petersburg.
Oh, wow.
So that's like a 40-minute drive from his house to there.
Yeah.
And so I don't think he really has to. He might have to check in once a week or something, but most everything he does is probably just at home or by phone.
Yeah, and he does. Yeah, if he doesn't have to go in, he probably does. And I wouldn't either. Everything I can do, I can do from my computer, which marvelous, wonderful technology we have today.
Internet.
Yeah. And even back in the day, right? Like reporters used to call in their story, right? They didn't actually go back to the main office. They just sat on the phone and dictated while somebody took it down. So, at least I think that's how it used to work.
Depends on how far away you were.
Yeah. Hey, Jenny, I've got a hot topic for you. Hot beat. So
popcorn was on sale for 2.5 cents.
Yeah, there you go. So, but
all right. So, go ahead.
No, I was going to say but I did. It was really kind of during this spot there, and these guys were putting out their articles and the tweets about what they talked about with Mike Smith, about what they got from Open Locker Room. Like they were crafting their articles, and again, it really had this very library-esque feel to it.
This is not the raucous time I was hoping for.
Yeah, again, listen, I had one day. I had one day there to observe and to experience, and I don't know what goes into all of this, and I'm not saying that they should. It's just, you have an image in your head, and then you see reality, and it's a little bit different, and it kind of jars you a little bit. And it's not bad. It's just you got to shake out of this image that you had in your head. Like in my head, I think I honestly thought all of these guys were like super great friends.
In the overstuffed leather chairs,
smoking cigars. Yeah, exactly.
Telling war stories.
Right. And Jenna's over there, just as slack jawed as the rest of them.
Rolling her eyes.
Yeah, men, boys, little Hermione Granger over there. Right. But I don't know that that's the case, and they don't have to be. Like these guys they're colleagues. They're not necessarily friends, but I kind of thought that, and I'm not saying that anybody is mad at each other. They just didn't interact a whole lot with each other.
Right.
And I seem to remember Trevor saying something to that once of like, you need to be in the press box and nobody really talks to each other, but somebody might look like, hey, what did he say over there? Or, wow, did you guys see that play? Like, that's about the extent of them talking to each other.
How do you spell Mississippi?
Yeah, exactly. 2 S's, 2. But I just don't know. And I was like, huh. So, it was really kind of in that like hour of downtime for me of just hanging out and watching these guys. And, it's Ira's over there eating a beet salad. And,
Was he really?
Yeah, he was eating. So I don't remember exactly what he was doing, but,
classic.
I was hoping, and I wanted to go over and talk to Ira for a few minutes, and be like, dude, believe it or not, you go grocery shopping with me a couple of times a week, because it always seems like I'm grocery shopping when I'm listening to his podcast. Like, I don't know why. It just seems like that's the way the schedule works. But I didn't get a chance to go do that. But
that is the best thing about podcasts.
You can listen to them anywhere.
But it's mostly like the grocery store. Like when you go somewhere where there's lots of people,
and
you don't really want to be bothered at all. It's just like, boop.
Right. I listen to you while I'm driving. No one do want to say, hey, listen, I listen to you while I'm, taking a shower. Like, you don't want to say that. Yeah.
Well, I don't do that. I mean, first off, it never gets really loud enough. I've tried it before. But
I've got one of those shower speakers that Bluetooth connects into my phone.
Oh,
so.
You and your fancy stuff.
Oh, they're like $10. You can get them at Walmart for like $10.
Like you shop at Walmart.
Okay, Target. You can get them at Target.
You're Trader. You're Whole Foods the whole way.
Fresh Market. I'm Fresh Market the whole way.
Fresh Market. But yeah, I mean, I don't think I've gone grocery shopping. Riveting news breaking from PewterCast. You're welcome, listeners. Probably for a good 3 years that I haven't had a podcast like pumping through speakers. So I love that about podcasts. Not dealing with reality.
Right.
But anyway, so you're sitting there an hour, no one's talking to each other.
Right.
You wish you could go talk to Irv and tell him, that, he helps you get through your day.
Right.
So what's going on?
Right. Yeah. And I mean, it was just, but I mean, like the reason why is because these guys were working. Like, I get it. Like, I didn't want to go jar them. I know what it's like when you're working and you've got a train of thought going and then somebody comes by and interrupts your train of thought, and then you're trying to get back into what you were thinking. Like, I get it. I get how, and that's why I didn't like just start flitting around the room.
Right.
Plus, what am I going to say? Like, hey, I'm Brent. I'm from, a podcast, and I'm here helping these guys out, and I just wanted to say hi. Like, that's probably exactly what I should have said. But
sounds pretty good. Actually, probably would have worked.
Right. But on the other side, they'd be like, all right, hi, nice to meet you. Weirdo, go away. Is what my head says that their response would have been. But actually, Greg was really nice. I did actually get to go talk to Greg. I've never talked to him face to face before, and it was very like, oh, hey, cool. Nice to meet you. Thanks. It's like, thanks for letting Riley come on the show. He's like, yeah, no problem. He loves getting to do it. So shout out to Riley Allman, guest of the show several times. So, that was kind of the day. And then Cutter, they announced that Cutter's coming in, and Cutter, we all scuffle over again to the press conference room.
Same room.
Yep.
Okay, gotcha.
It works exactly like we did with Mike Smith earlier. And we're all sitting there, and there was noticeably less people. Like, because this was like 3:30 in the afternoon at this point, right? So like people had already like finished up most of what they were doing for the day. And I think that said there was 20 earlier. There might be 10 now, maybe if that, maybe 8. And Cutter's in, and he's still got like sweat on his face from just having come in from outside from practice.
Fresh off the practice.
Yeah, like, I mean, straight in, had his bottle of water, and he's like, all right, well, let's get to it. And it's if you ever watch a Coach Cutter press conference in the middle of the week, they can sometimes get a little awkward. Like, they ask questions that he just does not want to answer, and the awkwardness is even more palpable when you're in the room with them.
I can imagine. He seems to get progressively worse. Like, he started off the season pretty good.
Yeah.
And then near the end of open practices, where he had one every day outside.
Yeah. He's like, guys, stop it. Stop asking the same questions. I'm not going to answer
a little
them.
more. That last week, he was getting a little snippy.
A little testy, yeah.
And then when the hurricane hit, it's like, how many times? It is what it is. Like, how many times did he say that in the past, like, 2 weeks? It is what it is. Like, what are you going to do? But yeah, he's been getting a little, and the one after the game today, which Brent mentioned earlier, we're recording this right after the Minnesota game. It was short.
It was short. Yeah.
It was
short. And his
short.
answers are short. And after the press conference was over, Coach Cutter leaves, and the room kind of clears out. I'm standing there with one other member of the media who shall remain nameless because this person did not give me permission to say this. So I'm not going to say who it was, but this person looks at me and goes, "He effing hates us." I said, "What?" He's like, "He effing hates us. You could just tell by the way he's answering. He's like, he doesn't like having to come do this." And I went, "Huh." I was like, "Yeah," but like in my head, I'm going, but it's a lot of the same questions that he doesn't want to answer like every day. And, it's a part of his day that he has to go do. And he's just, and I'm like wondering, I'm like, maybe it's not that he hates you. He might just still be hot. Like he's still hot. Like he needs to go change his shorts. Like, and maybe he does. Maybe he really does hate them. I don't know. But it was kind of that. And then went back into the media room after that. And everybody starts packing up their bags and leaving. And they're like, all right, I got to get on the road. If I don't get on the road, I'm going to hit traffic, and then everybody goes off for their day, there's Jenna packing up her gear. I thought it was really funny. Do you remember when you were in high school? Or did you ever see this in high school?
Nope.
I saw this a few times. The person who had the biggest, heaviest backpack and carried the most stuff
was the smallest person.
Was the smallest, scrawniest little girl in the whole school. That's what it was like watching Jenna Lane with all her gear. Like she had absolutely the most stuff that she was carrying in and out of that press room.
She looks like a mom. She looks like a mom of 6 at Disney World about 2 p.m.
Yeah.
Bags and balloons hanging off her.
Yeah, she man, she's a trooper. She's doing her thing. So, so everybody just kind of scuttles out, and sitting there reflecting on it, I had this other thought. I had Scott Reynolds on here a while ago, asked him about being a fan of the team. And he's like, this job really takes it out of you. You're not really a fan of the team. You just, you just kind of do your thing. We had Trevor, actually. We talked to Trevor about what it is to be a fan of the team while being a media.
Right.
And he's saying it's really impossible. You can't do that. That's not how we bill ourselves. You and I talked to Roy Cummings actually about it during training camp a little bit.
Glad he brought that up.
Yeah. It's this thing that I'll be honest, Ren, I don't understand it. I don't understand the idea of covering a team and not being a fan of it. And Roy put it really great. He's like, you learn to be a fan of the guys, but you don't really care necessarily about the team. And after spending a day there, because so understand, like, taking the day as a whole that I've described to you, you're shuffled around to the side of the building, right? Like, and it's a very plain entrance, and you go into this nondescript library-esque room where you got to be quiet, and people aren't really very chummy with each other. And somebody comes in and just says, "Hey, Coach Cove," and then everybody shuffles over. You sit and you talk to a guy for a minute in kind of uncomfortable chairs, and then everybody shuffles back, and then everybody goes.
You hate those chairs, man.
Yeah, I do. And then they shuffle you down through the aisles, and they walk you past this food that smells great, but they don't let you have any. And then they sit you in the locker room, and everybody just kind of stands around, and you may get to talk to guys, you may not. It's a little tense, and then somebody says, "All right, everybody get out of here." And then, so the media guys go out and they shuffle back into their own little spot, and, like they're kept very away from everything.
Right.
You're not walking down the hallway and like, "Oh, here's the ticket sales guys, and here's this and here." No, it's like doors are closed. It's a hallway. Just go back to your little space.
It's not a welcoming.
It's really not. Like, I can kind of get if that's what you're in day after day after day after day. You might become a little jaded against the organization itself.
Right.
Maybe. I mean, I'm guessing here. I'm really guessing. And I'm not a journal. I know these guys go to journalism school and they're indoctrinated with be unbiased, don't be a fan, just report what you see. Like, I get that there's that element too. But the organization, like, they treat these guys well. Don't get me wrong. Like, they're not mean to these guys. But it's not this overly welcoming.
There's always this feeling that they're more of a hindrance than anything.
Yeah, like a necessary hindrance. we have to deal with you guys, so we're gonna give you this. I mean, don't get me wrong, the space isn't bad. It's not horrible to sit in. The chairs in the media room aren't really uncomfortable. They're fine. But it's just nothing that makes me like. There's nothing about it that says, "Hey, we're glad you're here."
Gotcha.
It's just you guys sit there, do your work, stay in this little corner, don't mix with all the other things, only do what we tell you can do, and then go back to doing your own business, and we're going to pretend like you're not here. It's kind of what it feels like. And if you're in that day after day after day, I can kind of see how you don't really care about the organization much anymore. At least you're a little jaded to, especially being indoctrinated of don't be a fan of anything.
Right.
But I can see how you do develop relationships with the players and with the people, and you maybe become a fan of the person, or you want to see the person do well, But then a guy can look at you and say, listen, if it's third down and the Bucs are down, 6 points, but I've already got my story written and I've got my angle, I don't need the Bucs to come back. I don't care.
Right.
Which is what one of the media guys told us when we were talking to him about this.
Yeah. Priority one is for them is to get that story by deadline.
Exactly. And and I've seen some stuff on Twitter to that effect today. And so kind of taking it all in, I was like, I kind of see how that happens, and asking myself the question, would I want this as a job day after day to be in that kind of a situation? And I'll be honest with you, Ren, I don't know that I do. There's a whole different thing that you and I get as fans, being able to do a podcast about the team, or maybe even the Pewter Plank where you guys are fan sided, or what Derek does with not just his podcast but also his website with What the Buck, that has people like John Hinkle and you and other guys writing for it. I think JC Delatorre writes for that for What the Buck as well, or Jamie Yarko, like I said, over at Pewter Plank, or the guys over at Real Bucks Talk, Michael Pless and those guys over there. There's something that we have as fans that those guys don't really have, which is a love for the team that even transcends the players. Like you and I love the players that we have, but let's be honest, when for the majority of these players, when they go away from the team, we're not following them a whole lot anymore.
No, it's the name on the front of the jersey, not the back.
Exactly. It might be like the Warren Sapps or occasionally the Warwick Dunns or the people that kind of transcend that a little bit that we'll continue to be fans of. But for the most part, as you say, it's the name on the front of the jersey. And we get to love it. And, so like there's this thing in me that's going, I wonder if there's, if there's something that we could do from our side, because we do things a little bit differently. We're all covering the Bucs. It's just we cover it from the perspective of a fan, where we are definitely very biased. But we can talk about the good and the bad, and try to bring some sanity to it. Where the other guys do talk about the good and the bad, but they do it from a noticeably different standpoint. Like trying to figure out what is the place, what is our place as fringe media, as fan media, so to speak. So, it was a very cool day. And before I left, I did happen to walk around to the front of the building and go in through the big football glass entrance. And they have a little, it's very, very minimal, but it's kind of a museum-esque feel to the lobby. And I just kind of got to walk around the lobby, and, they had the history of the team a little bit in various places and the different logos that they've used and other.
And the full-size Lombardi.
And the full-size Lombardi, yeah, and I took a picture of it, and got a little selfie of me with it. And, they have the statues of the players there, from winning the Super Bowl. And, so I got to put on my fan hat for a few minutes, when I was in there, and just kind of walk around and see what they had there. So, but yeah, it was a cool day. What I had going through my head the whole time, if anybody has ever seen the show Wicked, the Broadway show, The Life and Times of the Wicked Witch of the West, Ren, have you ever seen it or heard of it or anything?
I have heard of it, and I started reading the book at one point, and then I think there's a terrible fire. No, I just quit reading it. I don't know. But yeah, I'm very aware of it.
The Broadway show has a song in there called One Short Day. There's One Short Day in the Emerald City, where Elphaba, the Wicked Witch of the West, and Glinda, the Good Witch of the North, they're like friends in school. and they're going to go spend a day in the Emerald City and see everything. And that to me is what it was like, one short day in One Buc Place, and how wonderful everything is. And man, I love this, and I could do this and be a part of this, but I couldn't do it as a member of the media. Like I have to be able to maintain my fandom of the organization.
Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
What about a job such as Casey's or Scott Smith?
I would love that. See, and that's, I didn't get to talk to Scott or Casey. I did see Scott. I didn't see Casey at all. I did see Scott, and that would be a conversation I'd love to have with Scott. Of, what does that part look like, where you actually are with the team and for the team?
Fly with the team.
Exactly. I would imagine that there are some other restrictions on that. Like, Scott and Casey can't really speak bad of the team.
No.
They're not going to get on Bucks Insider Live and be like, the defense really effed up this game.
Yeah.
Kind of like you and I just did on the Instant Cast a little bit earlier tonight.
Yeah. It'd be like the defense didn't have their best day.
Right.
That's how they approach it.
Right. So there's a little bit of that in it, that might stop you. But, if I could work with the Bucks organization and maintain a little bit of freedom, to be able to rally, because I think there's something really important that fan-generated content, media content, provides to the fandom. And I mean, and look at what's going on with the Bucks Fans United thing right now, right? With what the Bucks stick cares. Like, this is a grassroots campaign that is solely charged through fan-generated media content.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know Justin's thing is kind of hooked up with Joe Bucks fan, but even they're I'll be honest, the Joe Bucks fans guys are kind of on the outside of that whole media thing, and I'd be interested to have a conversation with Isbitz and DeCamper and be like, so are you guys actually fans of the team? Like, that'd be the question I want to ask Ira. Like, okay, Ira, you're not really part of the main media stream anymore. Are you a fan of the team? Like, I don't know. I'd love to ask him that question from his perspective, especially where he is now.
I would think so. I think once you cover them for so long, you want to see them win.
Yeah.
But I also think it has a lot more. I think if you ask them, they would quickly pretty much say something to that, and then quickly move it to what just about everyone else has said, is that you like God. You really start to root for certain players,
right?
Because to a man, that's pretty much what everyone has said.
Exactly.
Sometimes they start off with, it's your job to get the truth and be unbiased, but it's easier, or the job's easier. That's what they like to say. I think that's code. The job's easier when they win, which is code for I'm happy when they win. I'm happier when they win. I like it when they win.
Right.
Not necessarily that it makes my job easier. It's just, it makes me happy personally that they win.
Well, it's more fun to cover a team when they win than when they lose,
Right?
Like,
yeah. I mean, but I don't know if you could cover a team for as long as Ira has and not be a fan of it. I mean, Scott Reynolds from Pewter Report's been doing it for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's been there longer than Ira. I think he's been there the longest.
He might be.
Him or Stroud, because Rick Stroud used to be Greg Allman.
Right.
And then I don't remember who was the original. It's getting very confusing. The original Rick Stroud, but he either moved on or retired, and Rick Stroud sort of got bumped up the totem pole, and they brought Greg Allman from USF. He spent years covering USF football. So anyway,
right.
I don't know. I don't have an answer for you. I would, once you sort of pose that question, that's something that that's not an easy fix, or an easy answer.
Right.
I don't like giving, sort of half-ass answered. And I want to come up. I love fixing problems, so I want to come up with a solution. But so I'll start thinking about it. But I'm with you. If I had my choice, I would much rather have Scott Reynolds' job than
Scott Smith's job. You mean?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Scott Smith's job than Scott Reynolds' job, and I would rather have Casey's job than anybody's job.
Yes, I 100% agree with that.
Because not only Scott Smith, you see him on the videos and things, but he's also, he's been there 25 years. but he's also the editor-in-chief, which means he has to proofread everyone's article,
Right.
and he does a few articles himself a week. You know, I like writing for these sites. I don't love writing. I love doing podcasts. I love talking about Buccaneers, and that's pretty much all that Casey does.
Right.
And
she comes up with these like fun little segments to do in the locker room, which I saw her filming one of the segments that one of the little like Casey's Corner segments or whatever. Yeah, like she was filming one of those with the offensive line guys, and I think some of the tight ends. So
you know, it's like for me, she's got the best job.
Yeah.
You know, she gets to talk about Buccaneers. She gets to do fun stuff. She gets to know the players. She gets to travel with the team. You know, you get paid basically to hang out with, you know, your favorite team. And I see it as sort of a bonus that you're not allowed to say anything bad about them. You know, it sort of frees. I think it frees you up from having to be brutally honest.
Honest. Yeah, because that can be a burden in and of itself. And by the way, I mean, to that said, I mean, even on our show, we don't speak bad about our team.
No.
You know, we even in the worst of times, like we're not bad mouthing our team at all. But you know,
we can come out and say stuff like the team laid an egg.
Yeah.
You know, the defense was terrible this Sunday.
Right.
They can't say either of those two things.
Right. So, you know, but we're not going to beat them up, you know.
No.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. So, you know, but it's a fun thing, you know, because here's the thing. So I got this little quote from Gerald that I got to talk about, right?
Yeah.
And later, you know, I got to make the statement. You know, I asked Gerald this question, and here's what he said. ... And I was sitting there just going, you know, as a podcaster, like that'd be really cool to be able to say. You know, as a fan, I was talking to Coach and I asked him this question, and here was his response.
Right.
To be able to bring that, and that's what I meant when I said, you know, like I wonder if there's some level of access that we as podcasters can get or should be able to get. And what's that look like? I mean, you've got to be able to limit that. Otherwise, everybody and their brother is going to call it the PR department and be like, hey, I got a podcast, give me credentials. You know, so, you know, you've got to be able to vet it a little bit, you know, before you do that. But I mean, how much beneficial would that make, our show, and in turn help create and increase the fandom of the Buccaneers, which then feeds it right back into the organization. You know, like, so I don't exactly know what all that is, but it's got my mind wondering if there's not something there, you know?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not. Yeah.
We're not going to solve that right now.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
we're not going to do that right now.
I already gave you my answer, Brent.
Yeah.
Yes,
so.
But I understand it would be really great to be able to hear it from the horse's mouth and not have to sort of like, you know, quote I read this on Twitter from, you know, person X, or I saw this on, you know, on this website from person Y. It'd be really nice to be able to get it, you know, from the horse's mouth. It gives you like a little more, I guess, level of credibility.
Yeah. And if we were, you know, if it was acknowledged that we are not media, but we are fan media, or we are fringe media, or whatever, like it gives us permission to ask things in a different way, I think you'd see some different questions get asked as well. You know, they could be very smart and very intelligent questions, not just, you know, why the hell did you put Charles Sims in there on the third? You know?
3rd and 1. What are you thinking, Coach?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit off air, and now Casey Phillips, who, you know, we keep referencing, if you don't know, she does pretty much all their video work, all the Tampa Bay Buccaneers video work. You can find her at TampaBayBuccaneers.com, of course. She has a Friday show on the local radio station, but, you know, after it's also streamed through the app live, I think. Yes, it is. And then, of course, it turns into a podcast after. So no matter where you are, you know, in the whole entire world, if you're listening to us, you can listen to that. And I honestly think, especially the first show, I missed a little bit of the second show, Dirk Cutter was extremely impressed with the questions that he got from the fans. I mean, I learned stuff about Dirk Cutter, like his offensive scheme, like where did it come from? Did he find it a hindrance that, you know, not a hindrance, but does he wish he learned a little bit of the West Coast offense? You know, is it more numbers based or word based? Like, these are questions like I was like, oh, yeah, actually, no, I do want to know. And he answers them, which is great, you know. and those are questions that either reporters know or don't care to ask because it doesn't help them in their job in the article that they're writing.
Sure.
Or, and you can't really just in a press conference sort of ask the coach, this has nothing to do with what I'm doing. I'm just wondering, what's your favorite color? You can't do that. So that'd be hard though. I think because the vetting process would be very hard about who you're going to let in.
Right.
And then how do you differentiate from saying, okay, that person's allowed to ask like the more personal, goofier questions, but you guys over here can't. I mean, that's not.
Yeah.
First off, it's extremely un-American.
Sure.
But how are you going to police it?
Yeah, I mean, there's a piece of me that just says the policing just comes with your own personal ethics of how you present yourself as a journalist or a fringe journalist or whatever, however you want to delineate between those two. But and I should be clear, I'm not looking to replace or take the jobs of any of those people in the media room. Those people serve a great purpose and a very good purpose.
Because they were worried.
Yeah, I bet they were.
Updating their resume as they listen.
Right, like, dang, these podcasters are taking our job. How am I going to pay the mortgage now?
I saw them in the building just last week. Oh my God!
Now they're taking over.
Happening.
You're right. No, it's I do think that those guys, serve a great purpose, and I think most of them do it very, very well. I wonder if there's not a way that we can add. So anyway, off of that topic, but that was kind of my one short day at One Buc Place.
All right. So recap. So where are we at? So you've listened to Coach and, it's over.
Yep.
So, then you did your podcast. That's right.
Yep.
Then you did Pewter Report's podcast and sort of shook everybody's hands and what, got in the car and went home?
Yeah, got in the car. Yeah. Well, like I said, I went around to front and I did the little, fanboy thing. And then, I got in the car and drove away and, you and I hopped on the phone and talked for a little bit. And,
yes, I was extremely jealous because you told me the night, as soon as we finished episode 44, which was very early morning Monday.
Yeah.
And you were going to actually be at One Buc that Monday, around 11 o'clock. You're like, oh, yeah, by the way, I'm going to One Buc fully media credentialed. I was like, I think the first words out of my mouth were, you son of a bitch.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So I text Brent. I'm like, as soon as you're done, you need to call me. Like, I have a million questions of what went on. And that's sort of, we got the idea for this bonus episode. About halfway through the conversation, I was like, I'm enthralled by this. These are questions I want to know. I hope I've covered everything that, you fans wanted to hear about it. You've heard his story. If you have any other questions, feel free to email them at
thepewtercast@gmail.com.
I should know that. pewtercast@gmail.com. We will be recording. We have to figure out when we're recording. I think we're recording 2 nights this week. I'll be recording tomorrow with our special guest, and then also probably recording Tuesday as well. The opening and the fan segment.
All the other stuff,
yeah. Our favorite, our fan segment. Part of the show. So if you get to hear this, and feel free to email those questions, anything we missed, and we can answer them on the main show for you. So before we get out of here, anything to add? Actually this. To the guys at Pewter Report, in particular Mark Cook, but Scott Reynolds and shout out Mark Cook.
Well, I'm going to, because I'm going to say thank you guys so much. It was truly a special day for this fanboy. And I know it may give you guys a hard time for not being fans at all, but no, I really appreciate the time and the ability to come down and hang out with you guys. It was very, very cool to get to see what you guys do, and my respect for you guys and everybody in that media room really is at a whole different place of having gotten a chance to experience what you guys do on a day-to-day basis. So thank you guys, and glad to have helped out with your podcast as well.
And second that for me, that non-shout out to Mark Cook. If you heard the Pewter Report's last podcast, you understand what that means. Yeah, because I, got to live vicariously through Brent, and I feel like I've been to One Buc.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope everyone out there listening that, this sort of like Q&A we had here, which is really more Brent just telling what happened, every detail he could about his day, and me interrupting when I thought he should go into going a little more about that. So that's going to be it, guys. So where can everybody find you out there on the interweb, Brent?
Ooh, we really are switching chairs. You guys can catch up with me at Brent Allen Live on Twitter or on Facebook.com/Brent Allen Live. And I'm always down to talk Bucs football.
You can't steal that, bro. You cannot have that.
But it's in the co-host chair today. No, I'm always up for talking Bucs football or
too close.
I'm always down for just talking. Just at me. Just at me. I'm cool to talk to. Yeah.
Since I am new to this chair and I'm terrible at it, you want to go ahead and give all the information for the Pewtercast to show itself.
Yeah. Follow us at the Pewtercast on Twitter or Facebook.com/the Pewtercast, or you can shoot us an email to thepewtercast@gmail.com.
All right, everybody. That's it. Thank you very much for listening. You can find me on Twitter at RenDaxt, REN_DAXT. I am always down to talk Buccaneers football. That's why Brent can't have that phrase. I made it. I didn't make it up, but I definitely say it the most. So yeah, thanks a lot. This was a lot of fun. I'm super glad we got this done and got to get it out there. I hope you guys like it. We always respond to any feedback, so if you have anything we missed, go ahead and send us that email. And we always finish off every show, Go Bucs.